Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. My name is Osariemen. If this is your first time here, I welcome you, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So as you can tell from the title of today's video, I'm super excited to share this with you because I feel like I'm the right person to talk about it, because I've had experiences where I was just struggling so hard to maintain a relationship with God and just to have that fellowship that everyone else talks about. Like I see a lot of people talk about, or I hear a lot of people talk about the relationship, the time they spend in God's presence, how amazing it is. And I'm just like, when is it ever going to happen to me? Like, when am I ever going to feel these things that people are feeling? I just kind of thought it wasn't real. And one thing I never understood was that I had a part to play in this whole covenant relationship with Christ. I just thought, okay, you get born again and that's it, right? I didn't know that I had a part to play. And first of all, if you even clicked on this video to watch it, I really want to commend you, because it's a step towards the right direction, right? It shows that you are you're being intentional about having a relationship with God, which is fantastic. There's no formula to having a relationship with God. They're just basic things that you must set in place to be able to see the results that you desire. So one thing that changed my mindset was that I started to see him as a friend. God has different sides, right? He can be a father, he can be a friend, he can be a brother, he can be a protector, he can be a provider, he can be everything to us, right? He's more than sufficient to be everything to us. But to start building that relationship, you need to see him as a friend. He is that friend in your head that you think understands you, that just gets you when everyone else doesn't get you. You know, that imaginary friend or brother or sister, that person that you have a relationship with in your head, that you think just understands you when everyone else around you physically is just messing up, right? And then when you place that person in your head side by side with the people around you, they don't tally. Like, they don't even, the people around you don't match up, and then you get more upset that people cannot understand you. But God is that friend. He's that friend that you can take all your troubles, all your worries to, breakups, insecurities, money issues, husband issues, every single thing. You can take it to him and feel very free to talk about it with him. So the moment you start to see God as your friend, it starts to break down the barriers that religion has created for you. And then tying it up to my second point, every relationship needs maintenance. You need to communicate, you need to make sure that either you're seeing each other often or you're calling each other often. Remember when you were in university or high school, you had this bestie that you thought, you know what, by the time all is said and done, our children will also be besties, just the same way we are besties. And then life happened, you moved to another city, you even moved to a different time zone, and gradually the relationship started to follow. Every relationship needs communication. Every relationship needs to be maintained, and you will play your part by making sure that you're communicating with God all the time. And this is not to make it sound like a chore or a difficult thing to do. Just in your thoughts, you can just ask him questions, because when you start to see him as your friend, right, you know that I can relate to my friend, I can tell my friends things, I can relate to my friend freely without any judgment, any form of judgment. And even if your physical friend will judge you, you must understand that a relationship with God is a no judgment zone. So you always have to communicate with him. I'm also going to put out a video on how to spend time with God, because I also struggled in this aspect. Aside from maintaining the relationship, I also struggled with spending time with God. But you need to spend time and communicate with him. You need to have a specific time when you're spending with him. It's supposed to be a part of your to-do list, right? It's supposed to be something that is part of your day already. But it's not something that you have to do out of compulsion, that if you don't do it, something will happen or something like that. It's something that you have to start enjoying. You have to find the joy in doing it, and it takes time. With time, anyway, let me not get ahead of myself, but you know what, you need to communicate with God. You need to spend time with Him. You need to talk to Him in the daytime, in the nighttime, as soon as you wake up. You need to just keep doing it. You may not hear a response, you may not hear anything, but just keep doing it, and I promise you, you will see the results. Another thing that you want to take note of is that He's going to upset you. You're going to get upset, to be honest, because when you start having a relationship with God, He doesn't leave you the same. He starts to mold you. He starts to shape you. He will frame you up to be that person that He created you to be. He's now going to start cutting away all those things that the world has battered you with, all those mindsets, all those attitudes, all the mentality and everything. He's going to start cutting it gradually. So He will ask you to do things that are not comfortable with you. He's going to ask you to step out of your comfort zone, and at this you get upset. And you know what? It is okay. It is very, very okay to get upset. God created us with emotions, right? So it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to cry in His presence. It's okay to ask Him questions. It's okay to express yourself. You must not feel restricted to just praying and saying thank you, because even if you don't express it, He knows everything, right? He knows your heart. He hears your deepest, innermost thoughts. The thoughts that the person sitting down next to you doesn't even know, right? Will never know. He knows it. So if you're upset and you come to His presence and you're pretending, you're acting like everything is fine, He knows. So feel free to express and tell Him that it's hard, right? This thing you're asking me to do is hard. Please help me. And He is definitely going to help you. So He will upset you, and you would also upset Him. Just like every relationship, you do things that He has not asked you to do. You're probably not going to obey every instruction that He's giving to you. You will fall sometimes. But that should never keep you from stepping into His presence again. Like sometimes when we do things contrary to God's will, we kind of start to shy away and feel like I've offended God, I shouldn't be in His presence and everything. No, when you fall, that is the time to be in His presence. That is the time to run to Him, because before you know it, you start to drift and just enjoy it. You start to enjoy not being in His presence. Something that also kind of restricts the relationship that we have with Him is we have Him in a box. So because we are human beings and we have certain ways, certain patterns of doing things, we kind of put God in a box. So you need to get Him out of that box in your head. And what do I mean by this? You have a friend, and you're supposed to meet your friend somewhere. You know your friend's house, right? And you're waiting at your friend's bus stop, and you know that your friend's house is on the left-hand side, right? And then, because you know your friend is going to be here very soon, you keep looking to the left-hand side because you know your friend is going to show up. You're going to see your friend one way or the other from the left because she's coming from her house. And then all of a sudden, your friend shows up from the right. And you're asking her, like, are you not coming from home? And she's like, oh yeah, I was coming. I noticed that there was traffic, so I decided to go and turn. There's actually a shorter cut. You had your friend in a box. The reason why you were surprised was because you had an expectation of where she was going to show up from. And that is the same way we always have expectations for God, of God. We have expectations of how we want Him to answer our prayers. We have expectations of when we want Him to answer our prayers. We have expectations of how we want Him to answer our prayers. And because we're not seeing these things, it kind of creates some sort of frustration within us, and then we start to lose interest because we're praying for God to give us money and He's teaching you on how to forgive people. It doesn't tally. Like, I'm asking you to show me how to make money. I'm asking you to show me how to create a business, and then you're asking me to forgive someone. How does it relate, God, right? So we have this box, we have this expectation of how we want Him to speak to us. And then maybe sometimes if we try to study our Bible or we try to spend time with Him in His presence, we're expecting to hear Him call our name, like maybe a deep voice, something like what we see in the movies, in cartoons. We're expecting all of those things because we have him in a box. But most times when you start to work with God, he starts from the beginning. He goes to the foundation, and then you don't even see it. You don't even know that he's working on you, right? But he's dealing with the foundational issues, the one that life's experiences has created or thrown at you. He's dealing with the generational issues. He's dealing with our foundation, and then we feel like nothing is happening because we are expecting him to move as fast. He can move as fast, to be honest, but God will not give you something that will in the end destroy you or ruin you. But at this point, this is where we give up, right? Because we're expectant. We expect him in our box. We expect him to show up at a certain time based on our own timing, or based on the timing of the people around us, based on the timing of our friends. Sometimes we can miss all the things that he's doing in our lives because we're busy looking towards the left hand side, expecting him to show up from that left hand side, but he's showing up from the right, and we're not alert. We're not seeing that he's showing up in different ways. Because we've asked him for certain things and he's not doing that thing, we are kind of blindsided to the other things that he's doing. And then because I know that we live in a dispensation of grace, his grace is available for us and all of that, sometimes we might want to abuse that grace. You need to rely on the finished work of Christ. You need to rely on the strength of God, but don't actively find yourself in sin, walking in sin, and expect that relationship is still going to be flourishing. And finally, have mentors. Have people that inspire you to serve God. Don't depend on them, because they are human beings. They are the best men, and they are very best. They are still men, right? So don't depend on anybody. By the time you have a personal relationship with him, if someone else is falling, it won't make you feel like, oh, see, this person has done this, I'm not serving God again. People who say that, they don't have that personal one-on-one relationship with God. Their relationship with God is through the VPN. The VPN is the person in the middle, maybe their mentor, their pastor, their friend. Well, I don't know. Their relationship with God is in conjunction with that person, but your relationship has to be direct. He has given all of us, each and every one of us, direct access to him. So don't let your relationship be based on someone else's relationship with God, but you can stay inspired by listening to your mentors. You can stay inspired by listening to people who also spend time with God, and people who hear from God, who God can speak to you through. Now, in this aspect, I'm going to ask you to pray for God to open your eyes to see those people, because we live in a very wicked world. The days are very dark, and then it's somehow getting difficult to distinguish between who is who, right? Because Christianity has taken different forms, right? So that is something that I'm going to leave up to you. Like, you have to pray and ask God to introduce you or to connect you to those people that he wants to speak to you through. These are people that would fuel your journey, that will inspire your journey, that when you hear their own story, you have something to aspire for, you have something to look forward to. You're like, oh wow, I can't wait to experience this too. Oh wow, iron sharpens iron. Exactly. So you need the iron, the people who would sharpen you as well, people who, based on their experiences, when you hear their experiences, you're like, wow, this is inspiring. So I can dig deep, I can go this far with God. So to be honest, it's whatever vessel you bring towards God that he's going to fill up. If you bring a drum, if you're so hungry, so thirsty for his presence, you're so hungry, so thirsty for that relationship, he will satisfy you. If your hunger is you're just feeling a little bit peckish, you're like, let me just taste and see what this God thing is about, he will satisfy you, right? If you're not even hungry at all, you will remain full. Because one thing you must understand is that we're in a covenant relationship with God, and because it's a covenant relationship, it's a two-way thing. He is always ready to play his part. and then you also have a part to play. And then the moment you start playing your part, if you even need help, he will come from playing his part and assist you to play your own part as well, as long as you reach out to him. I really hope that this video has been a blessing to you one way or the other. I felt like I was rambling, but I trust that the Holy Spirit will send the right words. He will specifically give you the right words that you need to set the fire. My desire from this video is that that fire will start to burn in you, that hunger, that thirst will start to burn in you, and then you start to work towards creating a relationship with him. If you've been blessed by this video, please leave a heart, leave a star, you can even leave a flag. Just leave something to show that you have been blessed by this video. And remember, God is watching you, so you don't have to pretend. If the video did not bless you, please don't leave anything. God knows, he sees our hearts, right? And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.